U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. It's good to be back, and I have very important information for you today. So bear with me as we go through this information. Make sure you come up with your questions as well. But the Biden administration and the Department of Homeland Security, they have made some announcements about some big changes coming down the pipeline starting October 1st. And it's very important for you to know about it because it could very well impact you and your families. And, when I come and I tell you the information, I'm telling you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And some of this is not pretty. Some of this is very concerning information. And some of it is good news. Some of it is welcomed changes. But some of it is not so much. And this is why it's very important to listen up and take action on your behalf in your best interest, should you qualify for an immigration benefit. So the Biden administration, they are now focused on border enforcement. So they're focused on reducing the number of immigrants that are coming through the border. And they're going to be doing that by taking certain types of actions which can be considered as harsh against immigrants who are coming into the country, especially recent arrivals. In addition to that, they're also looking at addressing the problems regarding immigrants who are already here who don't have the ability to work. So they are looking at making changes to the work permit programs for various immigrants who qualify for the work permit to allow them to work so they don't have to be so dependent on public benefits, or they don't have to be here wondering what they're going to do next. So let's jump into some of those changes. I'm going to start with the more concerning information first. And let's talk about the border enforcement. So right now, they do have an election coming up, and unfortunately, that means that they do have to start. The Biden administration is taking a more harsh approach towards immigrants who are coming through the border, and they're trying to discourage immigrants from coming to the border. So they have now looked at certain initiatives to to discourage immigrants from coming in. And one of those is they will be, in order to deal with the influx of immigrants at the border, they're going to be sending military personnel to assist with support at the border. In addition to this, this is the more concerning aspect of the changes that they plan to make. That's the expansion of what's called FIRM, and that's the Family Expedited Removal Management Program. Now, this was initiated in May on a smaller scale, but now after October 1st, they're looking at expanding that program to put families, so certain families who have no legal basis to be here, they're going to put them through deportation removal, but not just any deportation. They're not going to go through the court process. Court process can take up to 5 years to be completed. They're going to be putting these families through expedited removal. And that means that you will have very little access to the court, very little access to relief or recourse, or to even appeal this removal. So they have already deported 1,600 families through this process since May, and they're looking to expand this after October 1st. So they're going to put this nationwide, and they're going to be looking at families who are here that have no legal basis to be here. So if you came through the border or you are here, and you know that you qualify, you don't know whether you qualify, but you need to find out if you qualify for a benefit so you can move to apply for the benefit so that you can establish your legal basis to be here. Because now they're looking at expedited removal for families. And that expedited removal means that they will remove the family within 30 days. And so they're looking to extend that and seek out more families that they need to remove because they don't have a legal basis to be here. So that is concerning, and unfortunately, they are taking these actions because their justification is the crisis has gotten so bad at the border, and they're trying to discourage individuals from trying to come in this way, trying to come in through the border, trying to reduce the number of people that come in. Another thing is that they have touted the figures that they have deported since May. They have deported more people than in 2019, and they're going to continue to do this. They're going to continue to expand this program to make sure that they can remove as many immigrants as possible. If, of course, if you don't have a reason to be here or you haven't established a legal basis to be here. So they have said that since May 12th of this year, they have deported 253,000 immigrants from 152 countries. So they're not joking. And when they talk about removed, they mean those who came in, they put them through expedited removal, or they go through the regular process of removing individuals from the country if they have not established that they have a reason to be here in the US. Now, one thing that concerns me here is that this does seem to conflict with their approach to not deport immigrants who are not on the top of their priority. Now, they because the crisis has gotten so bad, I think they are starting to change their tone on their approach here, and they're looking at taking a more hardline stance on removing immigrants to discourage them from coming into the country. If you've been here for a long time, I still there is still the risk of removal, but based on the statistics here, it appears as if it's these individuals are going through expedited removals or they're being turned around at the border because they are new arrivals. But this, because of this change in their tone, it means that there is a higher risk now of facing a risk of removal because they are going to expand this nationwide. So they had this, for example, the FIRM program, which is the Family Expedited Removal Management. It was a smaller program. Now they're extending it nationwide, and they're focusing on the expedited removal of whole families. Um, now, now that we've looked at the border enforcement, the things that they're planning to do to improve the border enforcement, let's look at what the changes they're going to make regarding the work permits. Now, this is welcome news. So it is today is sort of bittersweet because we're looking at possible activity, increase in activity to remove individuals who have no legal basis to be here. But now, at the same time, we've gotten news that they plan to speed up work permits for some individuals and then also extend the length of time that individuals can have the work permits for. And also, those who renew the work permits, they will also see that extension of the work permit. So they are now looking at those who have been paroled, as I said last week, that they have started a campaign, which is unheard of, to promote to certain immigrants, that if you're eligible for a work permit, apply for it. because of the crisis in New York, and we're seeing it in other states like Massachusetts. So they're trying to work with these states to get immigrants to apply. Now they are sending email campaigns out to people they believe qualify, and but keep in mind, not because you didn't get this email doesn't mean that you don't qualify. If you're applying for asylum and 150 days has passed since you've applied for asylum, then you qualify. If you've been paroled into the country, now certain individuals are being paroled into the country. So, we have Venezuela, Haiti, Nicaragua. And then they've also redesignated Venezuela as a TPS country, which means that it opens up new eligibility for more individuals to apply for their employment authorization through TPS to get protected status here and to apply for TPS. So they're encouraging them to apply. And after October 1st, they're aiming to, and let's see if that actually happens, but they're aiming to make the processing time for work permits 30 days instead of 90 days. They're looking at speeding up other work permits, so other types of work permits that people are applying for here. That we can definitely welcome that news. Now, when it comes to the length of time that the work permits are valid for, they're looking at turning it from 2 years. Right now, it's 2 years to 5 years. That's a big deal, and that would bring much relief because a lot of the processes in place are taking about. It can take anywhere from 3 years to 5 years. Asylum can go as long as 5 years. So this would reduce the stress of constantly having to renew the work permits, and it would carry an individual right through their process for the length of time that they are going through the process. So they're looking at 5-year work permits. Now, these 5-year work permits would be applicable to those who are applying for adjustment of status. And yes, that includes VAWA. Yes, that includes the T status. Yes, that includes the family based cases. It will also apply to those applying for asylum, those who have already been granted withholding of removal. So it is that is very welcome news because it is one of the stressful things that people have to face is when they have to experience the expiration of their work permit and then not get it renewed. And then, in addition to that, by the way, in October, they will no longer give automatic. So they had a year and a half extension, automatic extension on work permits. If you applied, you renewed your work permit a year before. Not a year before, if you renewed your work permit before it expired, then you would get a notice, and that notice would allow you to show to your employer that you have a year and a half extension. That's going to stop in October. But now that they are talking about extending it for 5 years in after October 1st, then that means that you wouldn't need to have a year and a half extension. You'll have a work permit that lasts for 5 years. So the takeaway here is that, if you, because of these changes that are coming, they are aiming to make these changes after October 1st. And this is coming straight from the horse's mouth. Has been announced by the Biden administration and the Department of Homeland Security. Everything I just told you about, including the removals, the expansion of efforts to remove individuals. And they're even now looking at building detention facilities and processing facilities to help them to make it possible to extend or expand the number of people that they can remove who don't have a legal basis to be here. So the takeaway here is that if you qualify for relief, you qualify for a benefit, now is a time to make sure that you check this out. And that's exactly what I do. I help individuals to figure out what they qualify for and to apply for that as soon as possible. You can get in touch with me by going to the link in the profile. You can schedule your own appointment or call the office, and they will be more than happy to assist you with getting an appointment. Make sure you do it quickly because my schedule is filling out, and you want to make sure you understand your options at least before the end of the year. October 1st is right around the corner. That means those changes are coming hard and fast. So you want to make sure that you understand where you stand at least before then, but make your move as fast and quickly as possible. Because if you can show a legal basis, the reason you need to be here, then that means that you'd be able to stay here and you don't have to fear or look over your shoulder, because as you can see, just a few weeks ago I talked about the decision of the Supreme Court to side with the Biden administration on their position that they would not be removing individuals just because they're here, just because they may have overstayed or because they are here unlawfully. However, as you can see, the political climate is changing, and the Biden administration has now, based on their announcement here, they are changing their tone here. They haven't said that, oh, those individuals who have been here for a long time, we're going to spare you. They're saying that if you can't show a legal basis to be here, then you can be removed. That means that it is a possibility that you could face the risk of being removed. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and answer questions. So put your questions in the comments now, and I will answer those questions. All right. Thanks so much, Mills. I appreciate that. So, just connected, does this apply to non-border migrants? So, chances are this is a great question. Now, um, if you are here, they didn't say this applies to immigrants who came through the border. This applies to individuals who cannot show a legal basis to be here. So that means that if you're not applying for a benefit, you're not applying for asylum, you're not applying for adjustment of status, you're not currently in the court, then trying to prove that you qualify for something, then you are at risk. They're not specifying whether this is individuals who are came through the border. But what happens is if you came through the border and they've given you some time to be here, maybe they paroled you in the country, but you still haven't yet applied for your for the benefit that you have claimed, like asylum, or you haven't yet applied through your family member, or then at that point you're open game. That means that you could face a risk of removal. So let's see. I'm gonna scroll through, just bear with me. If your US spouse refused to go for a Stokes interview, what can the person do? Will that person be barred? So if they refuse to go with you to the Stokes interview, it means that you are in trouble at that point because your spouse's presence at the Stokes interview is essential. My next question is, and once you've had a Stokes interview, it likely means that you're already on their radar for possible marriage fraud, where they don't believe your marriage is real. And if they do have that evidence to show that after an investigation that it was, or they sometimes they accuse individuals that it's marriage fraud when it really isn't. But if they feel like they have enough evidence to straight up say it's marriage fraud, then you're in trouble and you could be permanently barred. Sometimes they don't go as far as to say it's marriage fraud. They just deny you based on not being able to prove that your marriage is real. And they will fall short of accusing you of marriage fraud because at the point they've said marriage fraud, It means that they will bar you permanently from gaining any other immigration benefit or having another I-130 approved. Now, my next question usually is, if that spouse is refusing to go with you to the Stokes interview, why is that? Is that spouse mistreating you? If no, if of course, if this is truly a set up marriage and it's fake, then there's no help. You're in trouble. There's no help. But if this is a situation where the spouse is mistreating you, sometimes spouses go into the interview and the spouse that's doing the mistreating, they intentionally sabotage their spouse in the interview to make sure that they don't get the green card. We just got an approval on based on a situation like this in VAWA, where our client went into the interview and this spouse intentionally, conveniently forgot answers and just intentionally sabotage the interview to make her be denied. So it does happen. And in a case like that, you should consider whether you should be pursuing VAWA, because with VAWA, you can then change your process from the marriage base to the VAWA process, and you can do that even before you go to the interview. And this is why I often say, if you qualify for VAWA, do it early. Don't wait, because I've heard people even say things like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna stick it out with a spouse and see what happens," and then what they see happen is something like this, where they get sabotaged and now they're being accused of marriage fraud and their case gets a lot more complex. So don't wait. If you feel as if your spouse is mistreating you, then it's time to act on your own, in your own best interest. Hi there, Jason. So nice to see you. Good morning, overstayed visa. What is the way out? So, in the case that you've overstayed, I do assist my clients with situations like this. And in the case that you've overstayed, I look at various options. It really depends on who are your family members, what were your circumstances. There's so many. I have a number of questions that I ask to determine whether you fall under one of the criteria to apply for status here. So that's where the consultation is very important. It's like, if there's no one solution, you can't say, I overstayed, now can I get my work permit? I have to first review what exactly happened and what have you been through, who are your family members, to determine whether you fall under relief, because there's different types of relief. The Dignity Act, so that's there. It's just sitting there right now. And of course, because of this is the immigration reform, that's very promising. The Biden administration has also said that even though they're doing this border enforcement, they're trying to push Congress to make a positive change, humane, fair process for immigrants. But the Dignity Act is sitting there right now, and there's no movement. Can I use my SSN even though my work time is up? No, technically, your SSN usually goes along with the work permit. If that's expired, it's no longer valid. But I have seen immigrants use it. For example, if you have an SSN, you always use it to file your taxes, even though it may not be valid to work with anymore. I'm a conditional resident. I got a letter in the mail with an automatic extension letter. Did I need to apply to extend my work permit? In this case, if you're a conditional resident, you don't get a work permit. That extension letter will serve as your extension for your green card, because you're a conditional green card holder. All right, so I'm gonna head out soon, but let me see if I can get a few more questions. Any changes about parents' green card who is overseas? So not right now. If you were charged with domestic, is it gonna be a problem if you renew your green card? without any problem. If you're talking about citizenship, it could be a problem depending on when this happened, the seriousness of it, and the laws in the state. I was robbed at gunpoint 3 years ago. I didn't call the police. I have the video evidence. Can I still apply for the U? Yes, absolutely. That is still a possibility. You still do have to go through law enforcement reporting, but it is a crime that happened that they can still investigate. And then the law enforcement agency will determine whether, based on things like statute of limitations, whether they can pursue an investigation. But keep in mind, they don't need to actually investigate to sign off on the certification. Give us a call. We do use as well. So give us a call and we'll be more than happy to assist you. I'm an American citizen. I did apply for my mom who's overseas for green card. Do you know how long it will take? So you're looking at about 2 to 3 years to get through. I have a brother overseas who is over 21 years. What is the best way to bring him to the US? You'll have to file a petition. It's unfortunately it's taking 14 years, so there's no way around that. I'm on I-601A process after I-130 approved. I just heard might take over 3 years to get approved. Cannot wait that long. My mom's old lady, I need to see her. Can I switch to I-601 waiver? So if you switch to the I-601 waiver, you're going to be in your country and you have to start from scratch. You have to reapply and wait in your country. And the thing about that is the I-601 waiver being approved is not a certainty, which means that you could find yourself outside of the US and not be able to come back. I overstayed my C1D visa long time ago. That's why I'm entitled for a 601A. Right. So Karim, if you switch an I-601, you're going to have to apply for it outside of the US unless you qualify in some way for adjustment of status here. I need to figure out though who's applying for you. What's your process to determine whether switching to an I-601 here while going through adjustment of status could be a possibility for you. Can I apply for VAWA as a conditional resident? How to file? Yes. So VAWA, going from 2 year to 10 year without the spouse does apply, and VAWA does allow conditional residents to apply for that. The process is different. You do have to use the I-751 to apply. All right, what's the latest news on the council process? I'm not sure what you're referring to there. If you were charged in a domestic violence, okay, so I answered that. How do you know you qualify for VAWA? If you're being mistreated by your spouse, by your parent, or your citizen child who's 21 and over, then you may qualify for VAWA in this case. If you live in Dallas, Texas, no problem. I represent clients in all 50 states. Go to the link in the profile. You'll learn all about the site and you'll be able to book your own appointment no matter where you are. I have clients all over the country and the world, so that's no problem. Can my spouse for a green card if we should get married? No, if your spouse is a citizen and if they're a resident, yes, but the process is going to be different just depending on the status of your spouse. All right, that's going to be it for me. I will be back tomorrow at lunchtime to be able to answer some more questions. In the meantime, remember the takeaway here is that they are taking a hardline stance on those who don't have a legal basis to be here. So this is where it's very important for you to figure out what are your options and get started on an option. This is exactly what I do. I help clients to figure out what the best way is forward, even if they're out of status. So give me a call, go to the link in the profile, go to the link in the description of this video, and you'll see everything you need to get in touch with the office. My schedule is filling up and I want to be able to help you and get your process started should you qualify before the end of the year. So I hope to talk to you soon. See you tomorrow. Think of your questions or hold on to your questions for tomorrow, and we will talk. All right. Have a good one. Bye bye.